will probably keep trickling in for the next few minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and kick us off here. Everybody, welcome to our August CTUG. We have a fabulous presentation for you today. Neem is joining us from the UK, Cheshire, I believe. Not too familiar with the UK personally, but right. She'll be giving us a talk on her work that she does at Bentley. I'm going to give you a little walkthrough of CTUG and who we are, and then also the sponsor, Slalom. I'll hand it off to Neem, and then if you guys have any questions, either drop them in the chat and we can answer them at the end, or you're always welcome to chime in at the end as well. But I think we're going to try and save all the questions so that Neem can get through her presentation. So a little bit about CTUG. We are a group of business professionals that love using Tableau. We find people that are prominent in the Tableau community to give a talk, to share their skills, their experiences. We shoot for quarterly meetups, but I think this fall we might actually end up having one just about every month. Our next one will be September 29th, and you guys will get invitations for that sent out and everything. We try and vary all of our content, meaning sometimes it's very technical and sometimes it's very focused on a certain area. Today is a little bit more like the adoption of dashboards, how to do it with an old company, which I know for those of us that are consultants or that do implementation, that's some of the hardest part of the projects. The sponsor is Slalom. So I work for Slalom. I'm an associate consultant in the data and analytics pillar at Slalom. We are a purpose-driven consulting firm that helps companies solve business problems and build for the future, to read directly off the slide. But we use Tableau a lot. We are a partner of the year 7 times, I think 8 now, actually. Our DNA team, the data analytics branch, is growing like crazy. We're, up to 100, where I had to update this slide today and it used to say 70 and now it says 100. And that was between the past CTUG and today's. And we are hiring, of course. So if you want to join Slalom, you want to participate in CTUG, you want to help host CTUG, shoot me an email. My email is on the slide. We'll send out this deck at the end, or after today's presentation rather, as well. Here's just some contact info if you do want to get more involved with CTUG, or at least just follow us. You can check us out on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Like I said, next meeting will be end of September. We'll have a very special guest, and I will again send out all that invite later. Cool. Okay, I'll give a brief introduction to our keynote speaker. She will also talk about herself for a little while, but we have Neem Frogley from Bentley. She's a data science apprentice at Bentley. She joined right after school. I'm not going to read the whole paragraph because I'll let her talk about herself, but I had the pleasure of meeting her at the Tableau conference this past May, and got her to come and speak to us, even though she's in the UK and has plenty of CTUGs, or rather Tableau user groups around her. I feel very lucky that she chose to come and talk to us. So, okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to hand it over to Neem, and I'm going to let her kick it off.
Here we go. Share my screen. Hopefully you can see that, because I actually can't see the screen now, which is not great, but okay, so cool. So I thought
I cannot see the screen quite yet.
Oh wait, I have to click share.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry, used to using Teams.
There you go.
Brill.
Looks great.
Cool. So I thought I would start off today by talking about how we implement at Bentley modern analytics, so Tableau, into the company. And the Beyond 100 is just sort of, we have a strategy. So as you can probably imagine, Bentley is quite old. We turned 100, I think, in 2019, so just over 100 years old. So as you can imagine, a very traditional company. We have quite a few static reports, so flat reports as well, so not interactive, easy to use, but you can't really get the best out of them. So part of our strategy for turning 100 years old was to digitize the company, and also try and become more modern. So just a quick agenda. Thought I would give you a bit of background information, just so you know who I am. I'll give you a dashboard dive through 2 dashboards that I've created with the company since being here. Go through sort of like the new versus old format that we have for the dashboards and the reports, and then how we got the rest of the company to accept these new ways of working with the new technology. And then I'll take you through what a data science apprenticeship is. So just brief background information on me. So born and raised in Cheshire, so just south of Manchester, probably easier to place on the map. And then I went through secondary education between 2011 to 2019. So I know the UK and the US don't have the same education system, but secondary education is from being like 11 years old, to 18 years old. But I had to stay and resit another year because I failed my exams the first time. I then joined Bentley in 2019, so as a 19-year-old, and I started on a level 4 apprenticeship in data analytics. So I'll go over this later, but in the US, when I came over for the Tableau conference, I mentioned that I was a data scientist apprentice because quite a few people said, you're quite young for working a full-time job. And I thought that apprenticeships were common everywhere, especially in the US, because they're normally ahead of us in the times. But actually, it turns out it's not. So when you think of apprenticeships, you think like plumbing, electrician, construction. But in the UK, we also have apprenticeships in like office jobs. So I started at Bentley on a level 4, which was a 2-year course, and then passed that in September last year, and have moved on to complete a degree data scientist apprenticeship. So it's like a similar process, but at a higher level. I do that at Keele University as well, so that's just down the road from me in Stoke-on-Trent. And then also last year, I was awarded the Autocar Great Women's Rising Stars Award in 2021. And then also, as Mill said, I presented at Tableau Conference 2022 in May this year, just gone, which feels like a long time ago, but it actually wasn't. But yeah, this is me presenting at the Tableau conference, and then this is me with the 2 mascots. And then Salesforce also made me take some pictures, so I thought I'd let you see them as well. So on to dashboards, the real reason why I'm here. Throughout the time that I've been at Bentley, so when I started in 2019, Tableau wasn't really a thing within the company. It had literally, I think there was about 5 people who knew how to actually develop in Tableau, and that was from previous knowledge from different companies. So when I joined, we'd only just implemented the software. So I was one of the first to learn how to use and develop within Tableau. And since being here, so I think just maybe 3.5 years I've been here. These are some of the dashboards that I've done. So we go into how it works is my department is called the digitalization team. So we're here to basically like digitize the company. And part of that, the data analytics, data scientist team, we go into the different areas of the business and basically help them to automate their reports. So I've been into quality. One of the dashboards I did in quality was with plant quality. So it was on defects per vehicle. So basically, as the car goes down the line, it has quality checks. And if there are any issues with the car, that will get logged. And then we then created a dashboard on that data of the defects to show us how many defects did we have per car on average down the line. And then that enabled us to compare against the targets to see if we were hitting or failing. And it also showed us where on the line were like the most common issues. So that was that dashboard. I've also worked on the field quality KPM dashboard, which was a dashboard that helped the field quality team basically measure how well they're hitting their targets in terms of trying to fix issues within the car. And they had that was like a weekly meeting where they would bring up the dashboard and say, look, we've not hit the target this week, or we've hit the target and we've surpassed it. I'm currently working within the purchasing department at the minute on a supplier intelligence dashboard. And that is basically measuring the suppliers that we have against different KPIs. So it allows us to see if there are any suppliers that aren't performing as well. And then that can therefore allow us to go to the supplier and say what's going wrong, or is this issue a real problem, or is it just a small issue? Things like that. I've also worked in the Mulliner department. So the Mulliner department in work is like, if you want a specialised Bentley, so if you want like to personalise it, you'll go to the Mulliner team, and that's where like the special or like the limited edition cars come from. So I've worked with that team on inquiries versus orders. So it showed us how many people are inquiring about cars versus how many customers are actually following through with that inquiry. So that's that dashboard at the bottom here. I've also worked, so the digitalization team, that's my team. I did an internal dashboard for us to show us during COVID, the different office data that we had. So because obviously during COVID, you had to have 2 meter space, we couldn't sit next to each other in the office desks. So we were only allowed a certain amount of people in the office at a time. So we had a seat booking app for that. And from the seat booking app, that allowed me to then take the data and put it into a dashboard to show the managers in the office how much space we had, how much capacity was left for staff to come in. And then it also showed us if people were booking seats and then not actually coming in. So it gave the managers that a good whole rounded view of their office space. And then finally, I've also worked in the finance department on a couple of different dashboards. So the first one is the overheads dashboard that shows us the sales and marketing's overheads that month. Then we also have IT projects, which showed us the different budgets that we have left for the IT projects running. So the projects that IT is supporting across the company. The consumables report is a report based on the different materials bought within manufacturing. And then the landing page is like an overall dashboard of all of the finance dashboards that we have on the server, so that our board members and senior leaders can go into the landing page and say, oh, I want to view this dashboard, or I want to view this dashboard, because they were having a couple of problems with favoriting stuff on the server, but then our server wiping their favorites list. So I worked on that dashboard just to bring it all together so that they can see all of the different dashboards in finance. So out of that long list, I've picked 2, and Mills also helped me decide which 2 would be the most interesting. So the first one is the cost center report that I mentioned. The original state of this, just as some background, it was a business objects report, so just like an Excel flat file that got sent out each month to different budget holders, and they would also work with the finance analysts that we have to discuss why the numbers are what they are. So have you overspent, have you underspent, stuff like that. All of the different reports, there were several different reports, so they had to look at about 5 or 6 each month and compare against each other. So it was quite confusing because there was a lot of different files that they had to go into to be able to see and understand the numbers properly. And then at the same time, that was very time consuming for the finance analysts, because they had to, before giving out the report to the budget holders, do quite a lot of pre-work to be able to have answers for the budget holders. As well as that, it was because the budget holders would have questions, they would then have a lot of work to do afterwards on these reports. So it was a very time-consuming process, and they just wanted to streamline that so that they had more time. We had quite a few redundancies as well a couple of years ago when COVID hit. So there was quite a few of these finance analysts that they just didn't have enough time to be able to do this. So we decided to go into Tableau and basically emulate that report, but also add more features on top just to make it more beneficial. So as like a brief overview of what is on the screen here, we've got I've had to blur out numbers obviously for confidential reasons, but this is like an overview of both the operating expenses and the marketing expenses that we have. We have a current month view and the year to date, and then we've also got the actual spend of that month, which is controlled by this parameter here, broken down into the different categories. We then also have a yearly overview of the year so far, with a traffic light status at the side. So the traffic light status is on a conditional format. So it's if the actual spend is below 90% of the budget, then it's green. If it's within 90%, it's amber. And if it's above the budget, it's red. So that's like a nice visual indication of how well they're doing that month. And then it's also against the budget as well. I don't know if I mentioned that, but you can switch between the budget and the forecast on this parameter at the side here. That's also controlled by a region parameter. So we have lots of different budget holders for the different regions. So we have regions like Europe, UK, Middle East, after sales, and they all have different budget holders. But the catch is each month they would get their own report because they're not allowed to see each other's data because it's confidential. So the workaround on this was we put a parameter on for the region, and then we used user restriction, row level user restriction. So it meant that they can only see the regions that they've got given access to. So it means that they can't see each other's regions and each other's spend. That is then, this dashboard is then broken down into two smaller ones. So one dashboard for just operating expenses, and then another dashboard for marketing expenses. How that would work is that's a navigation button, so you just click into that and it'll take you to a screen that looks exactly like this, but it's just the operating expenses or the marketing expenses. But then there's also a filter action within these cost elements, so the different categories. So when the budget holder comes to view the dashboard, if they saw that one of the categories was had a negative variance and they wanted to know why, they could click into the variance and it would take them to a screen like this. So that then breaks that cost element down into the smaller categories with the actual spend, the budget or forecast, and the variance again. So you can see, is it one specific area that's creating that negative spend, or is it a mixture of several? You can then click into a different category again to get a lower level of detail, and it would take you to this dashboard. And this is like the final level of breakdown of that spend. So it gives us which supplier the spend has gone to, a purchase document number, so that the budget analysts can go and look into that spend or that line item at a deeper level. And then it gives us a description and then the currency that the spend is in. But then as well as this, we have a hyperlink attached to these. So some of these line items will have an invoice attached to it. And this is another reason why we wanted to put the report into Tableau, because the budget holder would get down to that final level and then they'd have to go to the file store system, type in a code to find the invoice and to check the invoice, and then that would bring the invoice up. Whereas now we have, you can click on the dashboard and it will bring up a hyperlink in a tooltip, and you can click on that hyperlink and it will bring that up in just as another browser on your Google or File or Microsoft Explorer. So it skips out that step of having to go into the different systems or looking into the different reports, and it just brings it all together for the budget holders. So it makes life a lot easier for the budget holders and the finance analysts. I'm pretty sure that, yes, that is a whistle-stop tour of that report. If we now move on to the Mulliner Bespoke features, I'll explain a bit about that. So as I was saying before, Mulliner is like the personalisation area of Bentley. So if you want to have a personalised car or a limited edition car, you will buy the car through Mulliner. So Mulliner had wanted to know their conversion rate. So how many people are inquiring versus how many orders are we actually getting? And that is what this overview is here. So it's just like but it's based on the different features. So when you buy a car, you can have stuff like contrast stitching. You can get, sometimes Mulliner wanted to know how many people were actually, how many we were selling and how many people were interested in these different features. And then we'd also, to add on to that as well, how much were we actually getting value-wise when a customer added that feature onto the car. So just this overview here is the orders versus the inquiries. And that's just split down over the different months of the year. And then you could also break that down into the different regions. So whereabouts in the world, which feature was most popular in which country, stuff like that. And then we've got the conversion rate at the side. And then on this next page, we then have a map view. So it shows us, we call them bespoke features, and they're basically displayed on this map via account. And it shows us which country is the most popular for getting bespoke features. We then also have that breakdown via the different dealerships, and then that would tell us how much the dealership has sold in monetary value, and then the average sale per feature. And then we've also got this heat map at the bottom, which shows us the most popular feature in that region. So if you clicked on the UK, for instance, it would filter this graph up here, this table, sorry, and show us all of the different dealers in the UK and what they've brought in monetary wise. And then it would also give us a breakdown of the features that we have via popularity. And then the final dashboard within this dashboard is, if you clicked on one of the features, it would take you to this page. And then that just tells you more about the features. So the description, and then how many inquiries we've had on that one feature, and then the total value that would be. So that's just a deep dive of the two main projects, I would say, or the two most interesting. Now, part of the whole Tableau development of like the dashboards that we have within the company is we also like to streamline the data side of things. So because Bentley's a very old company, it is mostly Excel reports or reports from business objects. I think we have a few Power BI reports, but mainly Tableau. So just as an example, I thought I would use the finance overhead report, so the cost center report that I showed you at first. And I'd just give you a bit of background information of how the old structure looked and how the new structure looked. So the data goes into a system, and then that data from that system gets taken into the data warehouse. And how it would work before is the data warehouse would then that data would then get taken, or SAP business objects would query the data from the data warehouse and create an Excel report with that data. And then that would get probably dropped into a shared drive each month or sent out via email. Whereas the process now is the data gets put into the system, it then gets moved or copied across to the data warehouse, and then we query that through Tableau Prep we query the SQL server that we have the data in, and then we then bring that into Tableau. So it's a more automated process, because the data warehouse refreshes on its own, and then that then means that the SQL server refreshes on its own, and then Tableau Prep, when it's scheduled to run, will pull that new data in. So before, you'd have to go in and recreate a Tableau extract. So it's a lot easier and less room for human error. So how do we get Bentley, or the people at Bentley, to accept the new ways of working in regards to reports? So as I said before, Bentley's over 100 years old. The company is very, very used to having flat files, working out of Excel, taking those those reports in Excel and putting it into PowerPoint and creating their own graphs, and there's just no continuity in that. So it was quite a struggle, or it is quite a struggle, to try and get people to want to move away from what they're used to and try something new. So one of the ways that we decided to tackle this was when implementing Tableau. We had every Monday a cross-functional business forum. So the way we set up Tableau was that we basically went into the different areas and did like a POC project, so a proof of concept project. So we go in and pick a report to automate, and then we would show it to that department and say, look how easy this is, look how great it is, look what you get out of this. And then that let them think of different projects or different reports that they could automate, or even have somebody automate to make life easier for them. So part of this was, when you introduce a new product, there will be struggles, there'll be hurdles to get over. So we had a weekly meeting every Monday with the different sponsors from the different departments, where we would just come together with our sponsors from Tableau, and they would voice any problems that they had. If they had any issues, we would try and help them, and then that would then mean that the problem could get fixed quicker, and it was also sort of like a little support line for them. We also had senior leaders on board with Tableau as well, so that meant that they would then advocate for the use of Tableau, and that would therefore increase the popularity of the software. And it would also mean that we had more supporters on board, so more people were willing to use the software instead. And as part of this, we would present to the senior leaders regularly, so that they can see what we're doing and how we're doing it, so that they could then think of ways that they could implement that into their different business areas. We also had a Bentley Data Day that I presented at, and we also had Andy Cotgreaves from Tableau come and present to us as well, and that was open to the whole company, so if you wanted to join, you could. And it was just a really great way to present to the different people of the company the different things that we've done so far. And also, so that then again led to them thinking, what can I do in my department that would also be beneficial? I could do that. I could do the same as that report, and that would really work in my department. So it was again like spreading the awareness of what we'd already done, to show this is what can be done, to kind of spark new ideas. And then we also, within that, there was also like tips and tricks. So we had like top 40 tips to be able to to creating a dashboard and stuff like that. So there was, as well as there being, this is what we have done, there was also a sort of like helpful presentations or best viz tips and stuff like that. So it was really useful for creators, as well as showing other departments what can be done with the software. And then, like I said before, we also do cross-functional placements and projects. So there's a group of 5 of us. I think there's 3 data scientist apprentices and then 2 data analytics apprentices. And we basically, each project will go into a different company and we'll help them create a dashboard and then implement that into the different departments. But then, as well as that, we're also seen as sort of like a helpline. So across the business, we'll get Teams messages throughout the day, or someone will give us a call and say, I'm stuck, can you help? And we'll sit with them and help them through the problem, so that they can then also develop their own dashboards, and so they're not having to just rely on us as a department. So there's some of the ways that we got people within the company to accept Tableau, rather than just using the same softwares that we used beforehand. So now I thought I would just talk a bit on what a data science apprenticeship is. So, like I said before, when I went to America, I was actually quite shocked that apprenticeships aren't really a massive thing. Just more like trade stuff. So it's not really, it's the same concept as being like an electrician apprentice, but it's still different in a way. So essentially what an apprenticeship is, just as an overview, my degree apprenticeship is a 4-year course. You can have different lengths. So for my level 4, it was a 2-year course because it was not as high level. But the degree apprenticeship is a 4-year course, and it's basically a week. You have to do 80% work-based projects, so projects related to just Bentley. And then it's 20% university work. So it's like learning, completing lectures, doing assignments and stuff like that. Mine is a mixture between online and on-site, but some other apprentices that I work with, they go to a different uni and they have 1 day a week day release, where they go to university and they'll complete their lectures and stuff on site or on campus, sorry. So mine's a mix because of COVID. Mine was online for the first half of the year, and then we went on campus halfway through the year when COVID restrictions were starting to ease. But basically, we get set lectures every week, but then every so often we'll have like a block release where we'll go into uni and we'll do like a week or 2 weeks worth of uni work, and we'll get taught the different content that we need to know to pass our apprenticeship, and also just to be able to work and do our work within the company. So I tend to have Friday afternoons where I'll sit and do my uni lectures and uni work, but then for the rest of the week I will do projects within Bentley, so it'll be completely work-based work as opposed to university work. And I complete my apprenticeship at Kiel, and I've just finished my first year, so I'll be starting second year in October, I think it is. But basically, year 1 and year 2 is content-based, so it's all lectures and assignments. Then when you get to year 3, you'll complete projects within your work within your company, but those projects have to reflect and hit different competencies that the university set out. So it's stuff like machine learning, artificial intelligence. So we'll have to complete a project that will hit that competency, and then we basically have to write up about the project, and those projects will get submitted towards our whole apprenticeship to get marked, which will then give us our final grade. But as well as that, we also have stuff to complete, like we have to do an interview we also still have to write a dissertation. So it's more just like coursework that we have to do to be able to achieve our apprenticeship. And then at the end of year 4, that's when all of our work, we'll basically submit all of our work and send it into the uni. And it'll get marked and then we'll get our final grade. But the benefits of an apprenticeship is we're getting our degree completely paid for. So I won't pay a single penny for my degree. Bentley pay for the degree. I also get paid a wage. So I'm still getting paid to work. And I'm also getting 4 years experience. So 4 years work experience that if I did go to university, I wouldn't have that experience because I only have the experience of being at uni, whereas I will have on the job work experience. So it really gives you it puts you like head and shoulders above the rest of people who are coming out of university. So, because it also shows the employer that you can learn as well as working, but at the same time you can balance your priority and be able to prioritize work, because you're having to, sometimes I'll have to, in a week, I'll have to prioritize doing my uni work, or sometimes I'll have to prioritize doing project work. So it's really attractive to an employer because it just shows all of these skills that you've learned from the apprenticeship. I think that might be it. I don't know if I've stopped too early. I can't see my clock.
No, that's great. I mean, I think that I have like 1,000 questions, but thank you so much for talking through all that. I think you covered a lot of bases. There's something I dropped in the chat earlier, but I remember something that really stood out about your talk and about Bentley in general was the fact that all of Bentley is under literally one roof.
Yeah.
And so I think because of that, and because it's like a smaller company, you are able to like go into every different like branch of Bentley and look at dashboards and build a dashboard. And so I think oftentimes, at least for me as a consultant, when you're put on a project or you're working on a project, you often just work on one dashboard. Like you are dedicated to one dashboard. And to see you build like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 is daunting to me personally, but very cool.
It is. That's one thing that, so when I joined Bentley, I didn't realize, I thought, I can't join a car company, I don't know anything about cars. But when I joined, you learn so much from just being there anyway. But when I joined, I thought, no, not a chance that they make all the cars just in Crewe, but they actually do. So if you ever see a Bentley anywhere around the world, it's made in Crewe in the UK. So it's quite amazing to think that. And there's, I think we're like 3,500 employees all working at Crewe, and we're all on one site, like Mill said, all under one roof. So if I do need to go and speak to someone in the finance department or someone in the engineering department or even someone on the line, just walk down. It's like a 10-minute walk. So it's very good for cross collaboration because everyone is in one place.
3,500 is actually more than I thought it would be. That's, I mean, still relatively small. I think Slalom, for example, is 12,000 now, which I mean, it's growing like crazy, but 3,500 people, but that includes everybody. That's like,
so that's like,
right.
3,500, but then think there's all of the staff who work on the line. So our manufacturing department is the biggest one. And they're all the people who work on the line. So then in terms of like office jobs, it's probably a third of that, maybe. So not loads of people.
Fascinating. David asked a question. I know he got it answered, but he asked a question about the data storage. So, how you were talking about how you kind of that there's the source data and then use a data warehouse, and that automatically
Yeah.
refreshes so that you can pull it and query it and then build a dashboard.
Yeah.
Do you know what data warehousing product like you use?
No. So I'm working the digitalization team, so we're not the IT department, and the IT department look after the data infrastructure. So I don't have a view or access to go in and mess with the data warehouse. Rightly so, because I would probably break something and that would be a nightmare. But the most I know in terms of the data side of things is that it's stored in the data warehouse. It gets refreshed every morning at about 5 a.m. And then we don't have direct connections to the data warehouse for obvious reasons. So the way we currently do it through Tableau is via a SQL server. So we get given access from the IT team. You have to put a request in. They'll give you the server name, and then you connect via Microsoft SQL Server, type in the server name, and then you can just drag and drop. So it's a much safer way than connecting directly to the data warehouse. But in terms of details of what the data warehouse is and stuff like that, not the person to ask.
Gotcha. That makes sense in terms of like company security, especially if you said that within the dashboards themselves, you do have like that row level security that you implement for the different regions. Yeah. Gotcha. So Bentley's high on data security.
Yeah.
David also had another question about, I think it was your OpEx dashboard, if you want to flip back to it. He asked a question about orders versus inquiries, the graphs in Q4. He said, is this because orders is a lagging measure for inquiries, or Mulliner maybe?
Yes, that is correct. So basically the way it works out is we have, and I don't know the exact dates, but inquiries get taken from like the 1st to the 1st or something like that, whereas orders will get taken from like the 15th to the 15th. So there is a lag where the orders are in the month after, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of Mulliner holiday gifts.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got another question from Augusta. They say, how do you go about time managing your university work with your Bentley work? Do you use all of Friday and the weekend to complete university work? Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, I could probably be a lot better with time management in terms of uni. But so when we have block release, so because it splits out 80% and 20%, we have block release every couple of months, so probably about 3 times a year. That block release, we're then also meant to have, when all of the time is added up, it then leaves us with half a day a week to basically fulfill the 20% as university time. So I tend to work on a Friday afternoon from midday onwards, because Bentley, we're all on like flexi hours. So I do my time in the week and we'll finish at 2:30 on a Friday. So I will do my university work from 12 p.m. onwards. But I'll just do it for as long as I need. And I do it on a Friday because I used to do it on Mondays, but Monday is like the most hectic day of the week for me anyway, straight after the weekend. So I was finding that I wasn't actually getting the time to be able to do my university work because there was just so many calls and emails that I'd get that I just thought it's just a waste of time doing it now. So I moved it to Friday because Fridays, some people finish at midday on a Friday as well. So less busy in terms of people contacting me. So Friday gave me that chance to be able to actually be able to do my university work. And also I feel like if I do it on a Friday, I've got all of my project work stuff out of the way and done in the week. So because less people are contacting me on Friday, it made more sense to do my university work then. But then, like you said, it gives me the opportunity to be able to work that into the weekend. So I can do it all at once as opposed to breaking it up. Because if I do it all at once, then I can just get into the flow of uni work rather than splitting it up. But I tend to just leave all of my assignments to the last minute, which is not the way to do it. But yeah, that's just what happens. But I have a diary blocker, so it says that I'm out of office from Friday midday onwards. So, and people tend to respect it.
Tend to.
Yeah. There's the odd few.
Oh, I don't necessarily miss being in school all the time. That's plus. David has another question for you. He says, how many users of Tableau are there at Bentley? That's question number one. There's a follow-up question.
So I don't do server care, and I don't track the users, but I think we have, I might have to get back to you on that one. We've just done a whole cleanup process. I think we're in the process of doing a cleanup because we have some licenses that are unused. So we're trying to create a process of elimination. So if it's not being used in a certain amount of time, the license can be reassigned to someone else because there's the need and want for more. But we need to figure out, do we have enough to be able to reattach, give to somebody else basically, or do we buy more? So but then there's also the situation of people, if they leave and they've got a license, we also need to know so that we can reassign that license to somebody else as well. So not 100% sure on how many. I think it's below 1,000.
Below 1,000?
Yeah, below 1,000. But not 100% sure.
Interesting. So
we have more viewers than we do creators. It goes majority viewers, then we have creators, and then we only have a few explorers, because I think we found that actually most people are either developing or they're either viewing. They don't have a need for using an explorer license, because most of the time they need to be able to edit the data source or create a new data source. So the explorer just doesn't do that.
Yeah, cool. Is follow-up question. Is there a main designer of templates, of Tableau templates, or rather, how does the dashboard design process work?
So we've defined a template and we have that on the server. So that's available for creators to go into the server and download the template, and then you can create your dashboard around that. However, there are some dashboards that were made before the template. So for instance, that cost center report that I've created, the one on the, is it still sharing, I think? Yeah, this one is not the template, whereas this one is. So this is the template here, and this one's not, because this cost center report is like 50 sheets. So I was not reformatting that into the new template. But yeah, we have a template that's set out and was created. And we also have a PDF pack that tells the user like the guidelines for the template and the guidelines for fonts, font sizing, and then also stuff like color palettes to use, symbols to use, stuff like that. So it's all set out in a PDF, which is available on our SharePoint site for creators to use.
Sweet. Thank you for all the information. Well, another question we have, again from Augusta. What is the primary vision of your department for the next few years, or long-term goal in terms of your digitalization?
Yeah, so our department is sort of like a mix. So there's it's a very flat hierarchy. I don't think I mentioned this before, actually. We have a very flat hierarchy within my department anyway. So essentially it's me as an apprentice. I then have my manager, my line manager, and then I have my department manager, and then we have we did then have the CEO. So it's a very flat hierarchy. So within the department, we have managers and then apprentices. So, and all of us apprentices are under the same manager. So we have like the head of innovation, the head of funding and collaboration. He's our manager. And then as apprentices, we have data scientists, data analysts, software developers, and we also have digital technology solutions apprentices. So that, but they do basically like software development. And we used to also have the internal apps team as well within our department. So quite often we would work alongside the internal apps teams, who are also apprentices. They would create the app, and then we would take the data out of the app and create the reports based on the apps. Or we would take data and create reports, which they would then display in the apps. In terms of what we were put in place to basically digitize the company and streamline processes and stuff like that. So not just static reports, but also ways of working and just processes in general. But we weren't meant to be a long-term department. However, there are plans. We have projects lasting for a couple more years, and we also have plans that would mean that our department would be where it is for a while. Hopefully it doesn't go too soon, because I've got 3 years left of my degree.
I mean, based on the acceptance, your dashboards and how much work you're doing, it sounds like Bentley like recognizes the value that you guys are producing. So I mean, it's hope that it's around for a few more years for your sake, but it sounds like it will be.
Yeah, we've definitely we've done some projects, and our work has been recognized company-wide to say that we are useful. So hopefully.
Love being useful.
Or I might be applying for a job at Slalom.
I'll give you a great recommendation. Augusta had a follow-up question to that. They asked, what apps are is your team working on at the minute?
So I showed you, or I didn't show you, I told you about the office dashboard that I created. One of the guys in our team, I say guys, it was a girl. One of the girls in our team created a seat reservation app. So where you can go on and book a seat for the office. That was during COVID. They've also created a customer markets insights app. So it allows the sales and marketing team to be able to see what's going on in the market, what the customers are like that we have. And then I did like the graphics, like the graphs and the visualizations for that, to show like the comparison of male versus female, or in the different age groups and stuff like that. They have also done another app, which was, oh, mine's just gone blank. That's great. They've done an app which is like a booking app for CW1 House. So at work we have a showroom called CW1 House, and it's where some customers choose to come in to have a tour, but then they can also sit down and discuss about getting a new car. So they have an app about to show the receptionists and the guys that work in the CW1 House who's booked a slot to come and view and stuff like that. there's quite a few other apps as well, but I just can't seem to think of them now. They also do stuff like internally. So we had World Earth Day. I don't know if you guys in the US did that as well, but they did an app for that. So basically we had like and also a diversity and inclusion. We had a diversity and inclusion day, and they created an app for that as well. So we had like an hour session as a team. Everyone across the company did this as well. And we had a couple of videos to watch, and then we had like discussions to have between us in our department, and then we had questions to answer and like a survey. So they create apps for that as well. So it's internal and external. They're also looking at modifying and updating the My Bentley World app, which is basically an app for the customers. So it's like a social media platform almost for customers only. So they're looking at doing updates on that and stuff like that as well. So it's a real mix.
There are a lot of apps.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. Okay. Are there any other questions? You're welcome also to come off mute or send them to me. Otherwise, that's it from us. Neem, thank you so much for all the information. You're clearly extremely knowledgeable about the inner workings of Bentley, but also I think it's really special to have somebody that is like young, serving such a large role in an analytics world, just because I think entering the data science, data analytics world is extremely daunting because there is so much to consume.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for sharing your journey and all the information and everything. Really valuable. And then before you say goodbye, just a quick note, this is recorded, so I'll be sure to send it out to everybody that RSVP'd. Again, reach out to me. My email is going to be in the document, so please reach out if you have any questions about Slalom, CTUG. I'm here to chat. And yeah, make sure to join us for our September CTUG. So yeah, that's it for me. On to you, Neem.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. Hopefully there were some things that you could take away from that, and some interesting stuff about Bentley. If you want any more or have any more questions, find me on LinkedIn. It's a bit of an odd one to spell. Blame mum and dad for that. But it's in the top right hand corner. If you just type that in, you'll be able to find it.
Yeah, I think we had a few quick follow-up questions. So I'm just gonna let them kind of reach out to you independently if there are any follow-up questions. Shoot them over to Neem or to me, and I can forward them to Neem, whatever is easiest. Last question was fish and chips or bangers and mash?
Bangers and mash, all the way. But so this is a thing, right? So fish and chips, but in the north you have fish, chips, peas and gravy. Yeah.
So poutine, but fish and chips with peas and gravy. Oh.
Yeah. But down south they don't have gravy on the chips. So it's a very northern thing, but it is the best.
I was gonna say it sounds really, really hearty northerner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Keep an eye out for emails. Okay. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. And Neem, you sent me your address, correct? Did you? I asked you to.
You did, but I don't think I did.
Okay, send it to me. Yeah, and then I'll make sure you get a copy of the recording, and that way you can post it on LinkedIn, and I'll share it as well.
Yeah.
And then yeah, thank you for speaking with all of us.
You're welcome. I think Augusta had another question.
Sure.
I think it's directly to me. It says, can you kindly discuss the female empowerment program and future talent programs, please? So within the company, we have, in terms of female empowerment, we have a group called Women in Automotive, where bi-weekly we get together and we have discussions on how we can make Bentley be a better place for women to work. So we have stuff, so some of the stuff that have come out of the meeting is like improvements on return to work after having a baby, so after maternity and paternity leave. We also have stuff like a mentoring program that's come out of it as well, so it's called Be Buddy, and it's basically you answer a couple of questions and it pairs you up with a mentor or a mentee, depending on what you selected, which route you selected to go down. But it's also just good in terms of like a networking. So because my department is quite small, I think there's like 26 of us maybe. And I mean, it's mostly women anyway in our department, which is a shock because that's very unusual for the automotive industry. But because of how I work, if I go into a different department, I'll meet new people, but it's not really, it's not a mass, it's not, I don't meet loads of people every day. And because I work on these projects for like 6 months to a year, it's the same people. I'm not meeting new people every day. So it's a good networking system. And also it's good in terms of like empowerment. So we'll do on like International Women's Day, we did a TikTok video, I think they put together for that. So that's really interesting in terms of the women in automotive. And then for future talent programs, there's like a future talent is not just apprentices, it's also graduates, postgrads, undergrads and interns. So and they're all varying lengths of time. So like I said before, the degree is 4 years, a higher apprenticeship is 2 years, I think. But it's not just, so when I think of apprentice, you would immediately think school leaver, but it's not necessarily school leavers. We do have apprentices that are like 20 years into a career and have decided to do the master's degree and stuff like that. So it's of all different ages, and the future talent programs have stuff in place that allow you to network with different apprentices across the company. Because so I'm quite lucky because in my department, I think there's like 13 apprentices. So we're all there to support each other, but there are some cases across the company where there'll be one apprentice in a team and they don't have that support network as much as we do, all being together. So we have meetings every so often where one of the apprentices will present what they're doing, or a graduate, and just tell everyone a bit about their department. And it also then like generates ideas and stuff on how we can collaborate. But then at the same time, we also do things like we'll go to not universities, high schools, and do like careers days. So we'll go and tell them about the apprenticeships that we offer and give them our view and a bit about our experience so that we can spread the knowledge for more apprentices. Because each year Bentley are increasing the amount of apprentices that their apprentices spots, so how many apprentices we're offering apprenticeships even. So we're always looking for new talent. So going into the schools is the best place to start, because it's those kind of people who we are aiming our apprenticeships at. So yeah, and then they're always there on hand for support. They're in our when we have to have like reviews with uni, we have like a rep there. So we always have someone on hand to help us if we need. But then at the same time, they're always there to push us into opportunities and help us grow. So I've done quite a few presentations where I've presented to schools for SEND children, or stuff like we've worked with the Prince's Trust. So kids who aren't always in like the best situation and don't always have opportunities come their way. So we'll present to them and tell them about Bentley and help them with stuff like CV skills, how to write a CV, how to answer interview questions and stuff like that. So it's not always just work. We do as Future Talent webinars and stuff to promote the different careers that we have at the company. So it's really interesting. No worries.
Bentley is surprisingly, I mean, and I don't know why it's necessarily surprising. I just think of older companies as not being as progressive or like flat in hierarchy or anything like that. So it's cool to see that there's like some change and some lifting of like young women and all that jazz.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Again, thanks again. I'll stop the recording. Thanks for all the awesome questions, Augusta. Really appreciate the participation. Okay, all right. I'll see everybody later. Thanks for a wonderful lunchtime meeting, or have a good evening, Neem.
Thanks. Yeah.
All right. I'll see everyone later.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.